up, movie trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown, the official after show of the movie trivia Schmoedown. My name is Brad Gilmore, but you might know me by another name. You might know me as The Boat. Hashtag best of all time. Hashtag Brad's Pinch True. Hashtag boat life. Hashtag I was actually on a boat last weekend. And joining me fresh off a boat from Oahu, he was getting laid, brother. That's my guy, Frank Janisch. Frank, what's going on, man?
Oh wow, yeah, that's a hell of an intro. That's when we're gonna keep. We're gonna put that in the old blooper reel or what have you. I was in Oahu and Maui over a course of 7 days. It was fantastic. During that time, I rarely checked on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram except to like post pictures. So it was pretty much Schmoedown blackout for like 95% of my trip. I had really no idea what was going on. I knew some of the matches that went up, but hadn't watched them. I'm still kind of playing catch up right now. But it was weird going that long without any kind of Schmoedown content in my life, because I think for the past 3 years, maybe, it's been Schmoedown just like every week, something every week Schmoedown related. And then to go a whole week without any of it pretty much was kind of odd. So, but it feels good to be back in the swing of things. And I was chanting it up in the old MTS Facebook group, riling up the old sheep in there. That was fun. So I'm getting back into the groove of things.
We have not been on the same show in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So nearly a month. We have not done one of these, which is kind of crazy. Because I've had interaction with you every single week for like a year or more, or however long. I don't even know how long we've done the show. 2 years, almost. So it's good to have you back. It's good to be back. We're both fresh off multiple destinations. You were in, of course, Oahu, Maui, Hawaii, the big islands over there. I was in Las Vegas, Nevada. Then I went to Destin, Florida, which I found out was nicknamed the Redneck Riviera.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, it was a great time. Yeah. I was at home. I'd never been parasailing before. Have you ever been parasailing?
No, it looks fun.
So the lady, Farah, the float, the first lady of all time, the finest lady of all time, the float, she convinced me to go on a parasailing thing. And the boat was a little nervous. The boat has been on a boat, but the boat's never been hanging off the back of a boat, which I thought would be about 50 feet in the air, right? That's what I thought. Wait, I mean, how high do you think parasailing goes? Like 50 feet, right? That's what you would think?
Well, now that you say that, probably not, because you're entering my brain now to not think that. So I'm probably thinking 100 feet.
100 feet. Okay, I would have taken 100 feet. We get on this boat.
Okay, is it higher?
Yes. We get on this boat. And, the first, there was two groups of us, Farrah and I were on one, and then there was another group. They went up first. And you sit on the back of this boat. They tell you, hey, make sure when you get up there, you're in a harness, sit in the harness. Don't try to lean forward at all, because you'll slip through the harness, and then the harness, you'll still be in the air, but you'll be caught by your crotch, right? And it's not going to be comfortable while you're up there. So I'm kind of freaking out already a little bit. Because that's going to happen to me. It just would. It just would happen to the boat. And then I see these people go up. And then they keep going up. And then they go up a little further. And I'm thinking, man, 50 feet sure looks tall. And I asked the first mate, I said, hey, how tall are these things? How far do they go? I said, is it like 50 feet? 100 feet? He goes, oh, no. It's about 400 feet up. I'm like, 400 feet? What? And so then it was the boat's turn, and the boat and the float, we were up 400 feet over the Gulf of Mexico looking at the mainland of Florida, or some people call it Florida. And I got to tell you, it was quite the sight to see. I never thought I would do that. It was pretty cool. So I recommend parasailing to everybody out there. But the boat was actually literally on a boat. You, of course, were on multiple boats, and you had...
Yeah, what's funny is... And I was like, damn it, Brad... As soon as I got on a boat, do you know who I thought of? I was like, no, I'm supposed to be on vacation.
Yeah, you're thinking of me.
I son of a, So thanks for that. But I did get on a boat. We went snorkeling, saw some turtles, saw some fish, saw some coral. And it was great. It was a lot of fun. Never snorkeled before. And saw some cool turtles. You know,
so the float.
Pretty neat.
I know this isn't what people tuned in for, but the float wanted me to go snorkeling, and I just wouldn't do it. We settled for a dolphin cruise instead. But while you were away, while I was away, our paths didn't cross. But if y'all wanted to hear Frank and I break down that San Diego live event, I know I held down the fort by myself. The boat did well, but the boat always likes Frank Janisch involved in it, and he and I jumped on the Movie Trivia Schmoedown Facebook group, and we did a full breakdown of the 2 matches that went down in San Diego. Because, Frank, you were talking real spicy in the weeks leading up to the main event.
And trust me, it's not going to stop. This doesn't stop.
So rolling out a
keeps
stopwatch?
going, just so you know.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
I understand, but you were talking real spicy. Came up short in some of your predictions. It's fine. It happens to us all. But if you want to hear Frank's reaction to Rachel Cushing's loss at San Diego, or if you want to hear what we think is going to happen going forward in Innergeekdom division, go check that out on the Facebook page. But we had 2 matches that went down this week. We had, of course, Lon Harris going up against my man Pickety Paul Preston. And then we also had a triple threat in the Innergeekdom division where we saw an interesting player make his debut. And we saw some returning faces. So I feel like before we get into any of that, there was a cutscene in the Friday match that I feel like we should talk about first because it's about the tournament. And the Ultimate Schmoedown tournament, it's coming up. Last week I was talking about some of the first round of matches that were announced.
Right.
Real quick. Chance Ellison, William Bibiani, you have?
That's tough.
It is tough.
I'm gonna go Bibbs.
I don't remember who I picked last week.
Yeah.
I think I picked Bibbs. I
don't remember who you picked.
I think I said it was a must-win for Chance, though. So I might have picked Chance.
Can I tell you, I was listening to the shows you did, and like every so often, I would kind of like sort of tune you out because then I started giving my own take in my head. As if I was doing the show on delay, on a week delay. And then I would go back and like, wait, what did he say? And then I was like, nah, forget it. I could rewind, but I'm not gonna.
It doesn't matter. So, that was last week. This is this week. But what do you think? Whitney Seibold, it was made by R&B. Robert Barbadette, the man who's still in charge for right now. He made the match of Whitney Seibold versus the Kid. What do you think of this matchup?
It makes sense, and I think people had talked about this as the breakup happened, that we would get some sort of revenge match. But no, I don't think I saw anyone out there saying this should be a first-round tournament match. So it is interesting that's going to be a tournament match. It gives a little bit more stakes, a little bit more story to it, which I appreciate. I like the fact that the Kid was like, you address me as the Kid, not Kid. I'm the Kid. So that's nice to know.
Pronouns,
that he's warmed up to the Kid, a la from Bibiani. So I am very curious about this match because we've seen what Brendan Meyer can do. Obviously, everyone just became... If you weren't enamored with him already in his debut, you became even more enamored with him after Free For All. He went on that crazy run, and then thus Bibiani and the Beast were born as a team after that. So Whitney is still a very good player as well. And I think it's a great first round matchup just because I really don't know which way it could go, but also neither player are like super elite. I think they're like right now, from what we know and what we've seen, they're very middle to upper tier-ish, close to that upper tier. Maybe they're somewhere between the middle and what's ever up there, whatever.
Frank, it's actually interesting. There's this thing, there's the bottom, and then there's the top, and then there's like this other section that a lot of other people can fit in. It's called the middle.
Keep going.
Right. So you can just say they're in the middle. And then there's like upper
they're
middle and lower middle.
Right. Yeah. What did I say?
Did
I say upper middle?
You said almost upper tier.
Almost upper tier, which is like upper middle.
Upper middle.
Right?
Yeah. I would just try to make that.
I'm glad we got that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If you could send me a PDF of that later, I appreciate it.
Telephone, telestat,
Thank you.
telegram, telewrestler.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, Western Union, whatever. Pony Express. So I would like I'm definitely gonna like to see this match happen. And it's gonna be interesting because I imagine we're gonna see Whitney and the Beast come face to face during this, right? You would expect the Beast come out with the kid. You would expect, hopefully, we see Mark Hoik. I hope I get that right. I should come out. So we're gonna have a very interesting, I think, dynamic going on when that match happens.
Yeah, and I just wonder who has the bigger motivation to win, because all Beast was doing was he was a little harmless flirting with the kid. He was just some harmless flirting. Here, Frank, look, you've been in a relationship before.
Oh, do I?
You've been in a relationship before.
Yeah.
And when you're in a relationship and you're away from your lady at the given time. Now, this has never happened with me. But
let me preface this real quick.
Sure that's well known. But when you're not with your lady, you might be out somewhere.
But you're assuming I've done it. Is that what you're saying?
I'm assuming you've done it.
You're assuming.
Yeah. Because there's a reason you're no longer in a relationship.
Got it.
But
amongst many other reasons.
But you go out with the lady, or you're not with your lady rather, and you're out and about. Maybe you're with your boys. Maybe you're running an errand to CVS, or maybe you're grocery shopping. Maybe you're out at your job. Mm-hmm. You don't know what's happening. And there's this this woman. Hey man, a peep game. I notice. I see. I have eyes. I have a heart. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm alive.
Yeah.
And it's a woman, and she's kind of looking over at you, and then y'all end up like maybe, I don't know, standing close to each other, and there's casual, friendly talk go back and forth. Da 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 da. She said, "Oh man, I just love what you're wearing." You say, "You have a beautiful smile, and I love your eyes." And it's just some harmless flirting, right? Just real harmless. And sometimes, if that's found out, the significant other or your partner, whatever relationship you're in, might have a little bit of jealousy. And you say, "Baby, don't worry. It's nothing. It's harmless flirting. I'm with you. I'm here, aren't I?
This is well rehearsed by you.
I'm here, aren't I? We're together, right? I'm not with anybody else right now, am I? No. It was just some harmless flirting. No reason for you to worry." And then your significant other, in this case, Frank Janisch's ex-girlfriend, she gets hot and spicy. She got a little Latina in her. I don't know exactly what Frank's bag was, but let's just assume. So she's a little amped up. And she's like, "Well, hold on, Poppy. That's not how I roll. All right? I'm not down with that cause." And then it gets real spicy. She yells. She maybe even makes a couple of threats. There's some real harsh words said about family members. She takes the keys. She leaves for the night. You're there. You're hot. You're like, "Oh, I don't know why I do this." Next day, text, say, "Hey, sweetie, how you doing?" She doesn't text you back. Next thing you know, you're broken up. And that's where harmless flirting can do. So William the Beast Bibiani, although he did nothing wrong in a little bit of flirtation with the kid, Whitney Seibold got real spicy. He had his little ex-girlfriend tendencies about him. And now they're at odds and at war. And now Beast, he's going to roll up with a fine young tenderoni on his arm, walking into this first round match. God. And he says, "Baby, you go out there and you do it for me. All right, you let her know what time it is."
Wow.
You know what I'm talking about, Frank Janisch. Post breakup, when you do the Instagram post and you want to make sure your new thing looks really, really good, so the old thing can be like, "Damn, that's how he's doing it now." And then in your head, you're like, "Yeah, that's how I'm doing it now." That's right. Your loss, my gain. Hashtag living my best life. That's what Beast wants to do out here, and that's why I think there's pressure on the kid. I think that Whitney Seibold...
And you have no frame of reference, real-life reference. Is that what you're telling me?
No, why would you think that?
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry, I'm unfamiliar with the train of thought that you have right now. But that's why I think Whitney Seibold, he's kind of got everything to gain, nothing to lose. I feel like pressure's on the kid. There's been a lot of chatter about the kid, a lot of talk since his free-for-all performance. We want to see what the kid is made out of. Whitney Seibold, no pushover. He and Bibbs together just had a shot not too long ago at those team championships, so he know he can play at that level. I think the kid has got the pressure on. Beast wants his new thing to let him know what time it is, so the kid's got to come to perform.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on. Let's talk about the first Innergeekdom match from this week. Just triple threat.
I mean, how do you follow that up? I don't know. I don't know how to follow that up.
Hey man, sometimes you just gotta exit at the at the high note.
Yeah.
Tell us who was what was going down in this triple threat Innergeekdom division match this week.
Yeah, so we had Warfather, right? And then we had Chandru Dandapani, and then we had David Moore, right? So
Dynamite.
Chandru and David, they had, right, Dynamite, exactly. What was his previous
I don't remember,
nickname?
but I like Dynamite a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Throwing it back to JJ.
So it was interesting that... Well, I mean, like, first of all, also, what was interesting is that the Warfather kind of just finagled his way in here.
I want a match.
Which I guess... right. A very interesting character. Didn't really break character at all throughout all of this, which Jen Sturger and the post-match interviews took notice of. It was funny. But this match was interesting because I wanted to see how specifically Chandru would do. Now, I didn't know anything about Warfather. I don't know if anybody did. So I wasn't really too concerned with what he was going to do. I was interested to see David Moore play again because he had a rough outing against Kevin Smets. That's not ideal. Way to start your
which threw me
career.
off because Mark Ellis was like, even though he lost to Kevin Smets, he sure put up a hell of a fight, and I'm like, I don't know what match you were watching.
I mean, because he's one of the few that actually took Kevin to the final round, I guess, if relatively speaking.
Yeah.
This only way I can justify it.
Okay. No disrespect to David Moore. I'm just saying.
Right. But I was curious to see what he could do. He did show me some stuff though, with like in regards to taking Star Trek. I thought, okay, let's see what you can do here, because it's generally a lot of players go after the DC, DCU, MCU stuff. So Marvel, a lot of players gravitate towards those categories. And he said, you know what, I'm gonna stick with Star Trek, and he did fairly well, all things considered. But Chandru was the one that I was most interested in, just because I thought he played a really good game in that Fatal 5-Way, and I thought he displayed a very good base of knowledge, and I wanted to see if that was just a fluke or if it was, could he do it again? And he did it here again. I mean, he had a great first round. I mean, he was leading after that first round. He was pretty much in control for a vast majority of this match, which was what I was expecting to see, quite frankly, and I was glad that I was proven right, because he is a very interesting character, and I think his character is very, what's the word? I don't know. It's peculiar, I think is the word. He's very peculiar in the way he goes about. I mean, just like the brand of shade that he throws is incredible. I think there's one point in the match with Warfather, it was the final round, they're going into numbers, and he said something to the effect of, basically, if you scored more points, you could just write off these numbers and you wouldn't have this problem. I was just like, oh, this is great. And he just does it in such a
nice fashion,
calm, just like nice, if you can call it that. Exactly. So
it's one of those things where it's like, when he says it, you're like, wait a minute, was that a diss? Wait a minute, what did you say? Oh man, I didn't catch that. Which I like, but such a likable performer. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Some people are just likable, and it makes you root for him. And Chandru is definitely likable. David Moore is likable.
I think they all were.
Odd but likable. And I thought that was an interesting matchup. Now, going into it, I thought that Chandru was going to be the guy to watch. It's interesting you brought that up as well, because his performance in that, I believe it was a 5-way where Brendan Hanna won. I thought Chandru was right there the entire time. I think he had like one really tough either 3-pointer or 5-pointer, and had he gotten that, we would have had a different conversation. And Chandru, to me, even though Brandon won, and no disrespect Brendan Hanna, Chandru was the guy I was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. You just make a note of him. You're like, I think this guy's got something. I think he's got something. And that's why I was really rooting for Chandru to go out there and win this, just to continue that progression and for him to get his first win under his belt. I thought it was very important. David Moore, I don't know what to think about David Moore, to be honest with you. I think that he's got a knowledge base to him. I think that he needs to maybe take the rest of the year off, study. Take the rest of the year off, study, come back. He could be something. He really could. And you know what? He's the kind of guy who would really benefit if there was ever another Innergeekdom tournament. I could see him being one of those guys who make a good run. If the bracket goes his way, you could see David Moore making a good run. Warfather, we just need people like this in the league. You just need people like this. Sometimes friends of mine, when I try to tell them about professional wrestling, hey guys, it's not all that weird stuff. It's not all like what you think it is. Like there's actually some great athletes. And then they turn it on, and they see somebody like Warfather, like, hey, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, hey, we all need a little bit of that. You know what I mean? Can't all be just super serious. We need a little bit of fun. And that's what Warfather brought, but he had some knowledge too. So, I mean, Frank, give me some of your stats here. Give me some of the things that you thought watching this match.
Well, first off, what I'll say about Warfather is he is a fresh air to this division, because when you look at singles, teams, and Innergeekdom, they're all pretty serious in terms of level of competition. The competitors are all pretty serious. But I think Innergeekdom has proven to be, in my estimation at least, the most serious. I mean, it's a smaller division in terms of pool of players, so maybe it appears that way.
Right.
But I think everyone at the top is super serious. Everyone near the bottom is like, I'm trying to prove myself. I'm trying to work my way up. You really, who's the wild berries of Innergeekdom? I don't know. Who's, the Josh McCougas? Who else is in team or in singles, who's your Dagninos? You don't have those types of players in Innergeekdom. And I'm not saying Warfather is like that, but at least his characteristics tend to, I guess, skew that way. I don't think his knowledge is equivalent to what those guys and those teams displayed. So I do like the fact that Warfather is now part of the Innergeekdom, it seems like. So it's going to be interesting to see, because here's the thing, and we've seen it happen in flashes here, where you have great character work, but the level of play doesn't quite meet the level of character play, doesn't equal. Because we saw it for a very brief hot second with Andrew Guy. Some of the best heel work we've ever seen in this league, and he was playing at a very high level. But then once you start losing, then you see less and less of the heel, so the persona's not as high anymore, so it kind of brings everything down. If you get someone like Warfather, I mean, I guess you could also say Smets and Kalinowski are kind of broaching it, but they're all very, very serious. There's no kind of happy-go-lucky kind of let's have fun with it. It's serious. I'm running through a wall just to get to you. It's very, very serious. Warhammer is more, at least at this point, more jovial,
right,
and a little bit more happy-go-lucky, and he's having fun with it. But I would love to see if his knowledge is anywhere near top tier. That would be great for the Innergeekdom division. It would really throw, I guess you could say, a cog into the machine of seriousness that is the Innergeekdom at the very top, at least that.
Can you imagine
but this match,
a Warfather entrance at a live event?
Right? I mean, you can get some pretty cool. I mean, we have gotten cool ones with Jason Inman, Captain America, when he came out against Mark Hanopik, at a live event. Even recently in San Diego with Rachel, that was great. So I mean, there are those, but a guy like Warfather, though, you're right. I think that's he brings some sort of bombastic attitude. It'd be pretty cool.
It would be phenomenal. I would love to see it. And you're right. It's just the Innergeekdom League has gotten real serious. It's gotten real serious, man. I mean, Smets, serious. Kalinowski, serious. Cushing, serious. Even now, the returning Mark Hanopik, although she has very funny jokes and is a delight to talk to because she makes you chuckle, serious.
Yeah.
And
And look, Chandru is part of like the new wave of happiness, if you will. Like he's having fun with it, but he's also very, very skilled. So that's also another reason why I'm very excited for Chandru in this division.
He is skilled. So let's talk about the match itself. What went down, Frank? I know you got some numbers, you got some stats, you got some stuff that you need to talk about. No, you don't. Okay, Frank's still on vacation, but let's talk about the match. The match was close.
I watched the match. Okay,
I hope you did. The match was close though throughout. I mean, it was really never at any point where any one person pulled ahead of the other. It was neck and neck the whole way through, really up until the final round. The final round, it was still they were bouncing the lead back and forth. I think at one point, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was like 16-15-16 at one point.
Yeah, it was very tight.
So close. And I believe when we got down to those last couple questions, and it was 16-15-16, Chandru got his three-pointer, went up 19, I do believe. David Moore missed on his five-pointer, was eliminated, and then so was the Big Warfather. And he was eliminated last. Chandru, of course, standing tall in that match. There were some crazy questions like the Sin City Dame to kill for. There were some Ninja Turtle questions.
One, yeah.
There was some, but I make note of those because there were new and maybe stuff about those. I know Sin City has been asked before. I don't ever remember Sin City 2 a Dame to kill for. By the way, Eva Green, yeah, brother, Hall of Famer. But in that movie especially. But I make note of those because I don't think we've heard a lot about those movies. And it's nice to see, like, sometimes every now and then there'll be, like, a spirit question, Sin City 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Secret of the Ooze. Like, there's these random little questions that you forget when you think Innergeekdom, because I'm thinking Harry Potter. I'm thinking, MCU, DCEU, Lord of the Rings. The real meaty categories that have always been asked in Innergeekdom. And it was really telling that no one got that Sin City 2 question right. No one.
Yeah.
No one got it right because no one's thinking about those one-off movies. We're all thinking about franchises or well-known properties, not these small Frank Miller-type comic books that get made into films. I really love that. Now, Frank, I also bring that up to say this. We've seen Batman Mask of the Phantasm, talked about.
Right.
But there have been other animated movies, feature-length films that have been released in the animated variety that I don't think that they get brought up enough. Now, also, there's been a multitude of home releases of several full-length Batman animated films, Superman, really only those two. The Killing Joke come out a couple of years ago. It was a rated R. Mark Hamill, came back to voice the Joker. Should these movies start being included?
As long as it's called the movie Trivia Schmoedown, in which the parameters are set that theatrically released, then no, because once you allow those types of like the home video stuff allowed in Innergeekdom, then you have to do it for the other divisions. You just can't have one division where it's like, I think you have to have it uniform throughout, which then means you're going to start looking at all the stuff that Netflix producing, Amazon Prime and all, because then you open it to all of that.
Let me stop you real quick though. Now I know it's going to have a brief 1 week run or whatever it is, the Scorsese film, The Irishman, that comes out in a couple months. I know, okay, it's going to have a theatrical run. Let's pretend that it did. Let's pretend that it didn't, and that Scorsese, Pacino, De Niro, Pesci was only on Netflix. There is a category on the wheel, Martin Scorsese, right? We're not going to talk about The Irishman? Like, I feel like it's a real murky territory there. You're not going to talk about The Irishman when you talk about Martin Scorsese's filmography if it was just on Netflix?
If that day comes, then you have to address that head on for the sake of the game, I think. But we're not there, so that's future Schmoedown.
I know, but I'm trying to think of ways that you expand the question base in Innergeekdom, because I do feel like there are a finite number of films, and if you're going to exclude James Bond, which I still find to be ridiculous because it is Innergeekdom, but if you exclude James Bond, then you have to find some new categories, I think, to bring in there. I mean, the Schmoedown proper singles league does it with stuff like Festival Darlings, or there are categories that will pop up that are new categories that the players then have to study for. And I just feel like we need something newer in Innergeekdom, or we're just going to be going back to the same movies and then get to the point to where it's like, you know, in The Crimes of Grindelwald, in the second act, what color was Johnny Depp's shirt for the momentary scene in the tea house? You know what I mean?
I mean, are you talking about you want to see different franchises included, or you want to see a different variety, a type of question?
Both. I think we need to. Right. I think we need to reevaluate categories that we have left out, or franchises we have left out, like a James Bond or even a Mission Impossible to that extent. Anything in that variety. Hell, Fast and Furious. I think you can make an argument as Innergeekdom, because if you see Hobbs and Shaw, that's a superhero movie. We watched a superhero movie, and I don't know anything more Innergeekdom than that. So my point is, we need to expand the categories and expand the questions. So not only include franchises that we've left out before, we need to think about, hey man, maybe we do let these animated Batman movies in. Maybe we do let movies like The Killing Joke in and stuff like that. Just because there's so few unless you're going to start asking stuff about the 1990 Captain America movie and the Dolph Lundgren Punisher film. I mean, unless in the unreleased Fantastic Four one.
I mean, that's fair game. So why? I mean,
I'm just saying, like, unless you, Trial of the Incredible Hulk, like, you start just doing all these things. I just don't know, you know, what way do you expand it further? And I think that it does need expansion.
Yeah, I don't know that I've really thought about that Innergeekdom needs an expansion at the moment. I really do like where it's at right now, because I feel like I don't feel like, you know, we're I mean, I guess I wouldn't know this firsthand, but I don't feel like we're running out of questions. I don't think I haven't heard that to be an issue. It could be, I don't know. I just haven't heard that to be the case. But I would like to see more different set of categories within Innergeekdom.
Yes.
I don't think we see enough of, like, you know, like ships, tech, and whatever, that weapons and that kind of category. It only pops up in, like, very rarely. I think it's ever popped up in round one, but, you know, it'll pop up in the final round as one of the categories you select. Things like that. You know, we don't see quotes all the time, although I feel like we've seen it kind of a lot recently, actually. You know, we don't really see, I think, taglines in Innergeekdom. So I think you can probably, if you're going to expand in one way, I would say at least a different variety of categories. Because, I mean, you have heroes and villains, things like that, you know, movie quotes, and, you know, obviously movie release dates will always be one, but, you know, even that we don't see a whole lot of, to be honest. So I think we could probably, hopefully, utilize those more in the first round. But, like, the whole thing with that first round, though, is of the 10 slots, there's the 8 core categories that we have. And then those two are the other two are reserved for, like, heroes and villains or what have you, or a movie release date. So maybe you switch up what core 8 categories you use a lot, obviously all the time in the first round, and maybe you use half of them and bring in different kind of categories. I don't know. I haven't really thought about them, so I'm just kind of brainstorming as we speak about it right now.
No, I think those are ways that you could expand the Innergeekdom division. I just think that it needs it. I mean, every league has grown. I mean, obviously Star Wars is going to have a finite number of questions, but, you know, but teams and singles, we've seen new categories entered, and really those are almost limitless in some of the questions that can be asked. But for me, I think Innergeekdom is a stronger focus on just singular style of movies. And to me, I really would love to hear the argument that a Fast and Furious franchise, or you know, we've talked about James Bond so many times, but it's something like a Fast and Furious, why that couldn't be included in Innergeekdom. Because I really think that it is. Because
no one ever got beat up for liking Fast and Furious. You know, I think that's kind of
I don't know if you've seen some of my Twitter mentions. Got beat up for it.
Well, I think Innergeekdom that word geek, it's rooted in, these are the things that we love that we were also persecuted as children or even adults at some point, that this is what we loved and, we were made fun of for this kind of stuff. And I think that's kind of what is at the core in terms of the categories that are in Innergeekdom. This is the stuff that we loved that was deemed not popular at one point in time when I'm just the base of the word geek, right? So this is what I'm getting at. Not, I don't know what you think I'm saying.
No. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think that's what this league is rooted in. I think that Innergeekdom.
Well, I'm talking about in terms of if you look at the word geek, and then why those movies are included and not others or subjects are not included. It's because those at that particular time, that's what was deemed not popular. Now we're going to create a league that's specifically dedicated to it because it is beloved by millions and millions of people, and we're going to celebrate it because back then it wasn't really something that people celebrated until the past, 15 years, 20 years. So that's why I kind of think it is the way that it is.
Well,
does that make sense? Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Now, the original definition of the word geek is a slang term originally used to describe eccentric or non-mainstream people. Okay, get that.
Right. Non-mainstream is a big part of that.
But now, in current use, the word typically connotates an expert or an enthusiast or a person obsessed with a particular hobby. Expert or enthusiast is what we can use to describe geek. Now, I'm a geek culture. I'm all about being a geek. When I was a kid, I got a rack full of comic books in the other room. I understand what you mean by the classical definition of geek, but when it says non-mainstream,
right?
Which one of these movies franchises that we talk about is non-mainstream? Harry Potter, that up until the MCU was the most successful franchise in movie history. Now you have the MCU, the most successful franchise with the most popular box office attraction of all time. Talk about DC, Back to the Future. I mean, all these things. I don't see them as, these are movies that because these people were persecuted. No, Back to the Future when it came out, which we had a Back to the Future question, which shout out to Dynamite, he got it right about the drive-in movie theater.
Yeah.
But when that movie came out, it was the number one movie of that year. So I kind of reject the
right, but also at first, Back to the Future was not initially a part of Innergeekdom. It wasn't
whoever decided
one of those
that was
core. It wasn't part of the core of what the Innergeekdom was, which was comic book movies, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings.
Right, it wasn't at the core
the
then. It wasn't then.
Right,
but then we expanded, and we added Back to the Future.
Right,
you added Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I guess my question is that because I think it's a new thing outside of geekdom. I believe because I think when Innergeekdom to me at least portrays to those core categories that were like the impetus for that division, and that's what it's rooted in. If you want to expand, I understand you're looking for ways to expand, but what the MCU, Sony, Disney, Warner Bros. They're expanding those comic book movies, and there's more Star Wars being made.
I get that.
They're still making Harry Potters and all that stuff, and
but to me,
that stuff is expanding.
Well, I mean, but what constitutes a geekdom franchise? Because if Back to the Future counts, let's think about this. There's a science fiction element, but it's also action comedy, right? And its main focus is a vehicle. Now let's go over the Fast and Furious. If you watch Hobbs and Shaw, there's a sci-fi element to the film. It's an action comedy.
Okay, but now you're only talking. So you're talking about one movie.
And it's centered around
you're
vehicles.
Talking about but you're only talking about one movie, though, right?
Well, no, I mean Fast 8, probably 5 through now. 5 through now.
But see, it's Fast and Furious is an interesting case because that franchise has evolved in ways no one saw coming. Right? Because you look at the very first one, would you ask a question from that movie in Innergeekdom? I wouldn't.
Not if that was the only film that we got. Not if that was the only film that we got, but as it expanded.
If you entered Fast and the Furious, that whole entire franchise now in Innergeekdom, you're going to tell me you're going to ask a question from the first one in Innergeekdom today? Come on.
Today, yeah. As we've seen the franchise grow. If you include one, you got to include them all. I say the same thing about James Bond.
Actually,
I said the same thing about James
Bond. Here's what I would
Fantastical weapons. They're going to space. They're coming up with all kinds of technology. You're stopping evil bad guys who have weird, either facial deformities or powers.
Make a franchise division. Movies that are nothing but franchises for one division. You keep your Innergeekdom, make a brand new division where you can throw in all your franchises from.
Supposed to be the franchise.
Not necessarily.
They're all franchises.
I don't think you're going to throw Jason Bourne in the Innergeekdom. I don't think so. I don't see that as that Jason Bourne belongs in Innergeekdom. I don't think so. I don't really see.
No, but I'm saying all the movies in Innergeekdom are essentially franchise. Like, I don't know one that's not.
Right. That's no 100%.
So
but I'm saying if you want to start throwing in, I guess, yeah,
like a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle's not a square.
More or less. I mean, you can still throw in the Star Wars questions into the franchise division. Maybe they're not as deep cut as Geekdom, but they're still in there, and then you can still answer. You can still ask your Back to the Future. You can ask your Bond. You're going to ask, your Fast and the Furious. You can ask your Transformers questions. Because it's part. All movies are part of a franchise. I think maybe you could go that route.
Wait, are Transformers
all inclusive in that sense? No.
Whoa.
I don't think so.
Are they not?
I don't recall.
If they are not,
I really don't think they are.
I don't think that they are either.
I know,
maybe there's
the
been a
animated movie has been asked, but I don't think I remember seeing. I don't remember ever.
There
hearing
should be a Transformers category. There should be a Transformers category. Come on,
right? Because if you were, it should be a category that's like how many stupid movies they have now, 7 or something like that.
Hey, they're not all bad. They're not all bad. The first one's pretty good. The animated one's pretty good.
The animated, and that's about it.
And then the Bumblebee.
Oh, Bumblebee, sure.
Yeah. So you got like 3 that are pretty good that I like at least. So anyway, I don't know how we got off on this tangent. Dame to Kill for.
This is weird.
Interesting question. I want to see more questions like that. So Skalisk, hopefully you took something from this conversation, brother. You know what I mean?
Did you? Did I?
I don't know, but I enjoyed having it. Where do you see?
Sure.
We talked about my man Dynamite, David there for a second. But do you see him? Do we think he plays again all year, or is this going to be somebody we see come back in season 7 as probably a better competitor?
It's an interesting question. I think he's probably done for the year, just based on the fact that we have 2 huge tournaments coming up. Excuse me. We have 2 huge tournaments coming up in singles and teams. That's going to take up a lot of the schedule, I believe. So I'm not sure how much room we're going to have for Innergeekdom, because when we have tournaments going on, usually another division takes kind of a back seat for a little bit, just because of the volume of matches that are going to be pumped out. So I don't know if we're going to have room for Innergeekdom, because as far as I know, we're not having an Innergeekdom tournament. So I doubt we're going to. And then plus, look, this whole Mara situation is going to throw a wrench into everything. What is she going to do? Where does she fit in now? So maybe if she plays, maybe that's taking a spot that David Moore could have played in, or a day that they could have had a match. So you never know. But if I had to guess, he's probably done for the year, and he should probably really go to work in the off season. I mean, he should really put in some serious work. I don't think he's that far off from giving someone a bad day. I think he can. I think he can do some damage if he wants to. But like the way this division is now, you got to put in the work, and the level of work he probably thinks he's got to put in. He's probably got to put in more than that. So that's just the way the top of the division is at right now.
No, I agree. And Warfather, we've talked about him a lot. I think we see him again before the year's out. I mean, I don't think they're going to debut a character and then we not see him again. But Chandru, this is the interesting one. I mean,
it's possible.
You floated the idea of maybe Mark Knopik going up against a Chandru or something to that effect.
Right.
Where do you see his trajectory? Because I don't think that he's there yet, but I think that he could be in title contention. Yeah. I think he really could be. I really like him a lot.
Right, so we know Brandon Hanna is going to be facing Emily Rose Jacobson. We don't know where Chandru goes from here. Presumably, I mean, like, I don't know if, like, Brandon Hanna's on one path, and then Chandru and whoever's also on that side of the path, because I know Jared Haven, he's got a match coming up, right? So I don't know, like, that side of the path, just somewhat of a unofficial tournament bracket, if you will, going on, right? So eventually 2 players will meet, and then that one gets the right to face Smets or Mara. Again, this whole Mara situation is going to be very curious to see what happens, because now I've been gone for a couple weeks. I don't know, have you heard anything else regarding Mara involvement in the league?
I haven't heard anything because, of course, I also have been gone for a couple of weeks. The boat's been out.
That's right. People in the comments, let us know.
But I know
Help
I don't
us
think
do our
anything's
job.
been announced further for Mara Kanopik, at least at this point right now. And even the K-Man, Christian Harloff, is out on vacation too. I mean, we've all been out. August, late July.
That time of year, I
August.
guess.
I guess we're all trying to get out of here for a minute.
But see, I would love to see like Mara in a cutscene somewhere, like trying to like get that match with Mike or trying to figure something out. Like that way, I know that like she just didn't pop up at the live event and then that was it.
Well, I don't think that would
because
be it. I don't think that.
No, I don't think that's it either. But it's just like, are we gonna get that? Because there have been times in the past with this show that something will happen and then we never hear about it or see from them again. And while I don't think they would do that with Mara, I certainly don't want that. I just don't want that to be the case either, because I think Mara can bring a new kind of different kind of life and flair to the Innergeekdom division.
And Christian knows this from writing wrestling, right? Which I actually do as well. Got a big show actually going. Hey, wait, let me plug this real quick. As y'all are watching this on Saturday morning or early afternoon, 7 p.m. Central Time, on the Reality of Wrestling YouTube channel, we'll be streaming our biggest pay-per-view of the year for free on the Reality of Wrestling YouTube channel. You can check it out. Super chats are encouraged, of course, but you can check out our entire show. That is youtube.com/c/reality of wrestling. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers too, which is phenomenal for us. We started the year off at 17. Now we're almost at 100,000. Really? Yeah. So we've made quite a lot of headway in a very short amount of time. So go check that out. But I say that, in wrestling, a lot of the times I've done it. You have something planned out. You have a whole story ready. You got your characters ready. You know where they're going to be. You know who they're going to wrestle. You get to the day of the show, something goes wrong. This guy doesn't make his plane. Sure. This guy forgets his gear. This girl's stuck in traffic or whatever. Just the circumstances change day of, and the script changes. And I know wrestling fans a lot are like, man, why did they bring this up and then nothing ever happened of it? It's not because, we're forgetful. It's because circumstances change when you're doing a 52-week show a year, and that's what happens here in the Schmoedown as well.
Yeah, and the other thing, the other reason I say that is because a lot of the time, the people that you see the most are the people that are winning. And they're the ones that are playing a lot, so they're winning. And that's why we've seen Mike a lot this year. And then if there's like a specific storyline that we're targeting, like we are right now with the Robert Meyer Burnett one, with the commissionership and all that stuff, so you're going to see a lot more of him just because it calls for it right now. Right. So you're going to see a lot of him. But if Mara is not playing, then are we going to see scenes to let us know that she is still in fact here, and that, so because otherwise if you're not playing, if you're not winning, we usually don't see you, right? Or if it's not building up to something like, Andrew Guy wasn't playing, but he was building up to the live event with Dan Murrell reveal, right? So we saw a bunch of those scenes, but he wasn't playing, but we're building up to something. So if you're not playing, if you're not building up to something, then, where are you? So that's kind of my concern with it.
Yeah, and I feel that. I definitely feel that one for sure. So we will see how this progresses going forward. We have another match, Frank. We had Lon, Harris, going up against Paul Preston. Paul, who was successful last week against Rachel Silvestrini, and he was trying to make a go into that singles tournament, going up against Lon Harris, a guy who last year, along with big little brother John Harris, made a great run in the teams tournament, now trying to angle for a spot in that singles tournament as well. Frank Janisch, I think Lon, here's the thing. We talked about this a little bit before we started recording. I said one day that Lon had the yips. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah,
I just said
I thought you were nuts.
I just said it. I said, look, Lon's got the yips, right? And ever since I said it, he started to have the yips. Like, there was a few instances where he was right there. He could have closed the deal, and something fell through, whether it be in teams or singles. I don't know how to explain that. I guess I had some voodoo magic working, or Video Drew helped me come up with some sort of algorithm that was going to help make him lose, because Video Drew is not of this planet. And he started to lose. Now going up against Paul Preston, even though Paul's coming off of a win, even though I said Lon Harris has the yips, I thought that he was probably the favorite in this match, and he was.
Right.
Do you think that was fair for him to be the favorite? Was he the favorite just because he's the veteran?
A little bit of that, but also I think based on Lon's previous history, who he's played, how well he's played. So he definitely deserved to be the favorite in this match. I mean, Preston's only 1-0, right, coming into this match. And Lon has played pretty well in the past, come up short, obviously. I think notably against Ben Bateman is a pretty big one that, I think it's probably his most severe loss to date, singles-wise. But he plays phenomenally. He's a really good player, so he should be the favorite here. Paul Preston is an interesting character, player rather. I don't know. His character is also very interesting. I don't know. It's very bro-y. A lot of whey protein, man. That's a lot of whey protein going on. Someone made Brad sneeze. Actually,
I could smell the protein powder from here in the Axe body spray.
The cloud traveled to Houston. Yeah, but he is very interesting because I just don't know how good he is. I feel like he is pretty good, but I'm not sure exactly how good he is. I don't know where to place him, so he's very interesting to watch for that reason. And this match, first round, perfect first round against Lon. He's up 9-6 at the end of that first round, and I go, okay, he's picking up pretty much where he left off from his last match against Silvestrini. So it's like he could be the real deal here. And we get through round 2, and he has an okay round 2. Right. Lon really picks it up there for himself with the movie quotes, right? He kind of closed the gap. He's down by 1, I believe, 13-12 going into that last round. So, and then, anything can happen with the numbers, with the categories. You get lucky, unlucky, and Lon being, I don't know if it was due to being a veteran, being used to those lights, that situation, what have you. He comes out on top, 18-19, 19-18. So I was a little surprised at, was I surprised? Was I not surprised at how both these players played? I don't know. It was a very interesting match. Paul definitely could have won it, obviously.
He should have won it. He should have won the whole time. Match. I mean, after that, probably really should have.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, his fate was in his hand. Yeah.
Yeah. He lost the match, and it happens, and he's new, and that's gonna happen. I think that he probably was like, oh, okay, cool, I'm up 9, after the first round. I probably got this one in the bag. I just came off of a first win, and it's a rookie mistake in my opinion. It's not knowing who you're up against, and whether you have studied the game or not, you don't know who you're gonna when you start. And Rachel, she's still, I think, in a lot of ways finding her footing in some ways in the movie Trivia Schmoedown. She's got a great knowledge base. She's coming into herself as a character. But, you beat Rachel Silvestrini, okay, whatever. Then you go up against Lon Harris, and you're thinking, oh, okay, this is going to be just like the last person I faced, who I'd say, at least from what I've seen from Paul Preston, he and Rachel are on a similar plateau as far as knowledge, in my opinion. In my opinion.
I think so.
Now, you go up against Lon Harris. Lon Harris is a guy who's got a lot of knowledge. He might have the yips, but he's got a lot of knowledge. So you're thinking, oh, man, I just beat Rachel. I got great knowledge. I listen to The Boat every week on the Schmoedown Rundown. He says that Lon's got the yips. So if Lon's got the yips, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to beat Lon. I'm going to get in the singles tournament. I'm going to be the man. I'm going to be Paul Preston. I'm going to be the man, Paul Preston. Precious Paul Preston. And then you get in there and you realize, oh, this guy's actually pretty good. I hit him early in the first round, but this guy's pretty good because he's sticking in there. It's almost like the first time a really cocky fighter in the UFC gets punched by someone who's stronger than them, and they go, ow, that hurt. And I thought that's a little bit what we were seeing with Paul Preston is he was feeling himself a little bit, not too much, but he was feeling himself a little bit. And he thought he was going to go against Lon Harris, beat Lon Harris, move on, keep the track going. But Lon, man, he came to play. Lon came to play, and he should have lost, but he came to play. He wanted to win. That's why he won. And guess what? The yips are over. Lon Harris, no more yips. He finally cured them. He cured the yips. I'm putting it on him now. He's got to go out there. You know what I mean? He's showing his no more symptoms. He's showing no more symptoms of the yips. Now, if he goes out there and loses his next match, yips are back. But we will see what happens with Lon Harris.
But how's it sound?
The yips are going to come right back.
It was a good sound effect.
I mean? Yeah, it was pretty good.
Okay.
So we will see what happens in the future for Lon Harris. But early, Frank. We don't even know everyone who's going to be in the tournament, I don't think, in full as of right now.
Who do we know that's in it right now?
Well, we know Bibbs and Chance.
Right. Chance.
And then there was the
right.
other match that's going...
Haley Fouch and Ethan Irwin.
Haley and Ethan. I think that's all we know, for sure. Or at least first-round matches.
And we know... now we know Brendan Meyer and Whitney Seibold.
Whitney Seibold. Yeah, so there's 6 people. We're assuming Lon Harris is going to be in it now.
Right.
So let's just say out of those 7, let's just take those 7. Because I think, actually, are we... Well, we have to see how that bracket goes, because I'm assuming we could see Ben Bateman in it. But we'll see how that all plays out, yeah.
That's right, because, will the loser of Bateman and Kalinowski then also be in find their way into the tournament?
I don't know. I don't know how it's all going to work.
You know?
I don't know.
I would think one of them. How could you waste that opportunity of not having? If you have the opportunity to have one of those guys in the tournament,
right,
between Bateman and Kalinowski, I would want one of them in there.
I think either one of them
goes off
to be in there for sure.
Sure,
but out of the 7 names that we know for fact are going to be in there, if you had to earmark one of those 7 to go out and pull the whole thing off, who you picking?
It's hard not to say Ethan Irwin, obviously. But I will say this. If it's not him, and I know you had me pick between Bibbs and Chance, right?
Right.
To win. I picked Bibbs. Mm-hmm. But I think if Chance could get past Bibbs,
he's got a good shot.
He can make a deep run.
You know what would be great?
But he's got to get past Bibbs. If he can get past Bibbs, and then he's got a shot.
I don't know if it's...
Which is weird to say that I'm not thinking that Bibbs has a shot. Because, he does, but...
Bibbs is one of those guys who always has a shot.
He does, but, he's always... For whatever reason, he's always been right next to the pool of bad luck. And once in a while, someone will splash them into his pool, and then that's it. It's unexplainable. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. No, it does happen to Bibbs. I don't know why that is. But if Chance were able to go and do it, and then let's say Paul Oyama's successful in his first defense, we set up that rematch.
I'm liking this very much. I'm liking it very, very much.
Oh, baby. We have to go to Vegas and put some money on the Cubbies.
Wouldn't that just be...
poetic?
Can you imagine... Well, yes, but, can you imagine being veterans of this league? And now at Spectacular, you got to watch a bunch of young 20-something-year-olds go play for the damn title,
they'd be hot about
taking a seat? Come on.
They would.
No one's going to be happy about that.
They would be hot about it, Frank Janisch. But
I'm going to be surprised if they got in that studio on the day of Spectacular, or the stage, rather, and just turn their back and not even watch it. Just out of spite. It's screw this.
Now, Frank, I feel like this episode has come to an end here. We've talked about mostly everything. I want to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you live on the show. Should we, after we're done with the recording, should we then let the show continue to play, and we'll put that 30 minutes of bonus talk about the San Diego live event at the end of the episode? Should we do it or should we not? Or should we leave it for Facebook?
Yeah, put it on.
Put it on here. All right, Chris Clark, you got some work.
Some people were asking... Because some people were asking, will it be available outside of Facebook? And I was like, I didn't at the time we weren't going to do that. But if a couple people are asking for it, I don't want to deprive them because they don't use Facebook. So it does not fair to them. If they want to hear it, that's awesome that they want to hear our voice. So I might as well just tack it on.
All right, so stay tuned for that talk. Frank Janisch and I, bonus discussion about the San Diego live event. Frank Janisch had a lot of spicy talk going into that event. Let's see how he tries to spin
Actually, it wasn't that bad.
Let's see how he tries
I didn't really get started.
Let's see how he tries.
I didn't even really get started.
To spin it. But Frank Janisch.
Honestly, actually, if anyone else really does like any other, I know there's a bunch of other new fan shows out there. If anybody wants to have me on and talk Kalinowski, Rachel, and Mara, all Innergeekdom stuff, or this ridiculous hashtag Mikey 3 belts, have me on. I'll talk about it with you.
Mikey 3 belts. That would be something. But you can stay tuned to that. Frankie J, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you and follow you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at FrankieJ29. And if you follow me on Instagram, you're going to see nothing but like Hawaii pictures for like the next month. So you've been warned.
So that's a strong unfollow for me, but you can follow me on all social media at Brad Gilmore. Make sure you check out the Hall of Fame on ESPN 97.5 or your favorite podcast app. And also check out Reality Wrestling, the YouTube channel. We're putting up new content, new shows going up on the channel, not just new wrestling shows, new content from Booker T and I, gambling odds shows. We're looking to expand our content base. So go over to Reality Wrestling's YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. For the super producer, whose mic I'm not exactly sure is working or not, so I'm going to go ahead and do it for him. You can follow him at Chris Clark 8788. Those numbers mean nothing, and we're going to keep on rocking this sucker until the end of time. Until next week, I am the boat, and this is the rundown. Stay tuned.
You know, I almost pet a turtle in Hawaii, but if I did, it'd be like a federal offense, so I didn't. Are we live? Hey, we're live. All right.
Well, first of all, I am frozen.
Yeah.
In a very interesting position. And Chris Clark is not a great producer because he gave no sort of countdown whatsoever.
I just told him to
make sure the frames were right.
I told him to just hit live, so just hit live. Who cares?
Well, I am frozen solid. So anyway,
And it's fantastic.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special.
back.
There I am. Now I'm back. Welcome to a special edition of the Schmoedown Rundown. It's not even an edition. It's just kind of a little extra segment that we're doing. What?
There was a black box I saw on the stream thing.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
It's over.
Okay, let's get on track here, Janisch. All right, I know we're live, pal, but follow my lead, and I won't steer you wrong. My name is Brad Gilmore, but you might know me by another name. You might know me as The Boat. And Frank Janisch and I are reunited, and it feels so good. After 3 weeks of not having any Skype-to-Skype interaction,
yeah,
we have joined forces yet again, and this is a special edition streaming live to the Facebook group just to discuss one thing that was a big topic of conversation on our show for it felt like weeks on end, and that was the San Diego live event. Now, I covered it, the boat covered it, but, you know, I could only do so much with a one-man crew. I can't mask the sail and set course by myself and read the comp. I need the map. I need everything. All right. You know, I'm more of a figurehead than anything. So I needed Janisch to be here. I needed Chris Clark to be here so we could be late getting the stream up. I needed these things to fall in place. And now that we are here. So Frank Janisch, first of all, welcome back from Hawaii. We'll talk about it on the proper rundown, I'm sure. But you weren't there for the San Diego live event. Mm-mm. When did you get to watch it? I watched it on a plane coming back from Las Vegas. When did you watch it?
I watched it live. I watched the live stream. I watched everything. It was sad not being there. It was the first live event I wasn't able to attend. That kind of sucked. But the matches were good, and so but it was also actually kind of fun to witness it through the stream, like a lot of people do.
Right.
I wasn't that bummed, but sure, I was a little bummed.
You're a little bummed, but we are here now. Now, you said before this, remind me, because it's been so long since we've been together. Your picks, one, of course, was Rachel Cushing.
Yeah.
And the other one was Kevin Smets, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And
all right,
actually, I went as so far, probably about an hour, maybe a half hour before the live stream went. I was texting with PJ Campbell, and I said, you know what? He's going to win by knockout. And the reason I said that was because I had just seen Adam Lavick's tweets about how he'd been Hall H that entire day in Comic-Con. I was like, ugh, he's in no headspace. I was reading tweets that he's like on the way to the theater and it's like 25 minutes before showtime or something like that. I was like, there's no way he's in the right headspace. Smets might smoke him here. And, well, that's pretty much what happened.
It's exactly what happened, Frank Janisch, and it happened for good reason because Adam Lavick, I like Adam Lavick. I said this on the rundown, the one that you were not on. I said after the San Diego Live event, Adam Lavick is a good player, but he's a B-plus player. And I don't mean that as a slight. It's just some people are what they are. He can improve that grade, just like you can in college or you can in high school. You can improve your grade with another great performance, and it'll raise your average. But right now, I see him as a B-plus player. And what that means is when he goes against the A players, when he goes against the A fighters, he's going to lose. It's just what's going to happen because he has not taken – and I don't want to seem like I'm piling on, but he has not taken the next level step that some people like a Kevin Smets, a Rachel Cushing, a Mike Kalinowski, or any of or Mark Konopik have done. I don't know if Adam Lavick goes home and studies incessantly and nonstop and listens to voice recordings of himself asking questions. I don't know if any of these things happen. And I'm just going to bet that they don't. And for him to be like kind of gunslinging on the live event stage and think that he's going to beat someone like Kevin Smets, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen on Saturday. It sure as hell isn't going to happen on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or any day thereafter. So you have to come to play if you're going against a guy like Kevin Smets. I don't feel like Adam Lavick wanted to bring his A game, and that's why, in my opinion, he remains right there as a he can beat a B-level fighter. He can definitely beat anybody below that, but above it, it's out of his reach.
I think that match wasn't a fair representation of the work that he's put in. I've heard like he does, in fact, study and does put some time into it. But the day like that he had, that Saturday at Comic-Con, the Marvel panel, it was right before. So you're super hyped. He was in that hall the whole day, and then you go through the Marvel panel, and then you're amped up because of all the announcements, and then you got to hightail it out of there to the theater, refocus yourself, get into the headspace. I mean, I've been watching some of those Action Army, Ben Bateman, Andrew Guy live streams they do on their channel now, Action Industries. And Ben, I don't know if we've brought this up, but he's wants to call the players like trivia pros, Schmoedown pros. And so it's like, as a pro, you on your journey from Hall H to the theater, you got to get in that pro mindset. And look, it's going to take a lot for just about anybody to go from that kind of atmosphere to a different one where you got to really focus and at least try and match the intensity in which Smets brings to the match, because that, I think, can possibly be overwhelming or intimidating in a sense, because how good Smets is. And then as Lavick, like, I just had this long day. I think he has put in work, but you're right. He's still at that B-plus area. I completely agree with that. I'm just waiting for that day when he's not B-plus anymore, when he really gives a Smets or a Kalinowski or whoever. Let's see what Brandon Hanna has up his sleeve coming forward. Give them a run for their money. So. And I think, take the next step into the top tier, because he's beaten Hector Navarro. And you can say what you want to say about Hector Navarro at that time when they played. Nonetheless, he was a champion and he still has vast knowledge and he was able to come out on top. So I think you're right. There's the potential there to really do some great things in the division. He just hasn't done it. And, how long are we going to hold out and see what happens here? How long is he going to hold out and see what happens? Because I think he's 3-4 now, and he's played 7 matches, which is like top 3 most matches anyone's played in the division. Maybe 4, I can't off the top of my head. So he's quite experienced in the division, and now's the time. Well, I don't know what's going to happen the rest of this year, but if it doesn't happen next year, I don't know what we're going to do with Adam Lavick.
But now, okay, I get the 3-4 thing, and I think that record can actually be a bit more deceiving than it leads on. Because when you hear 3-4, you're like, oh, this guy's under 500. He must not be that good of a player. Not exactly what that stat line means. It just means those 4 losses were against elite players or elite competitors, somebody above his league. I mean, you think about LeBron James. He's 3-6 in the NBA Finals. He's well below 500. Doesn't mean he's not a good player. Just means the competition that he goes against happens to be elite competition.
He's lost to Smets. He lost to Kalinowski. He's lost to Rachel. That's 3 of his 4 of like the top dogs he's played. Right. So, and every one of those players.
Those are all 3 either champions or champion level contenders.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was, and to be fair or unfair, however you wanted to look at it, he was not expected to win. Those other 3 were expected to win. So he has been the underdog in all of those matches. But if he wants to take the next level, he's going to have to beat one of these times out there. So it'll be interesting to see between now and his next match how much work he's able to put into Innergeekdom, because it takes a lot, and it's taking more and more these days with the likes of Kevin Smets coming in, and who knows with this young group coming in that we saw earlier in the year, how they're going to also elevate the league. Is he going to, stay at his current level, or is he going to meet the challenge that's ahead of him? So, I mean, we'll find out one way or another.
Now, let's also think about this, though. It happened to be really a bad situation for Adam Lavick because he's going up against a guy, Kevin Smets, who has a major chip on his shoulder. Yeah. I mean, this was the guy coming in like all guns ablaze, and I said it, he has dethroned John Roca and Clark Wolf with, I think, the worst answer and the most consequential bad answer in movie trivia Schmoedown history, in my opinion. This is my opinion. Don't tell Harry, don't tell Peter. I think that's the worst answer that you could have given. Doesn't mean he's a bad player. It just means he had a momentary lapse of judgment. But hearing things like that from me and from all the other pundits out there, all the other commenters out there, I know that he came into that San Diego Live event ready to kick somebody's ass.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it just so happened to be Adam Lavick that night. And even if Smets didn't have that killer instinct on his mind, and even if Adam Lavick was able to stay inside the whole day and just prepare for the match, Kevin Smets still would have won this. I just don't think it would have been as a brutal beating.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the thing.
Because he messed him up. I mean, it was one of those matches where you wish Christian or Mark had the striped shirts on and they could have acted as the referee and just put a stop to it.
Yeah,
don't hurt that man anymore. You know what I mean? It was brutal. I wish this was Little League and we had the mercy rule again because he was getting murdered. Somebody call the Popo 5-0, call the 12. The man was getting killed.
He got 5 in that first round, and then that was it. And then 3 questions later in round 2, kaput. So, that's brutal. That is brutal. And
disgusting.
I guess the only way is up from here, I guess. Right? So you would hope.
It's got to be one of the more embarrassing losses, especially in live event history.
Right, and that's the thing. No one goes into these wanting to lose ever, let alone a live crowd. I mean, come on, so it's not like...
Let alone get knocked out by 30 points.
Right, and it's not... Because I don't know if people will look at it and say, I don't know if he takes this seriously. And I've been kind of guilty of that, but I also have to remind myself, no one wants to go in there and lose. No one's okay losing. No one's like, okay, I'll go to this and whatever happens. It doesn't work for players like this in this league. And you always want to put your best foot forward. If anything, if you're going to lose, you want to play the best that you could possibly play. And so this loss has to sit not well with Lavick, not just because he lost, but because of the way he performed and just knowing that had a couple of things went differently. Then it's easier to stomach a loss. It's not good, but it's easier because I played to my ability, and he didn't do that. So, but a loss is a loss, a win's a win, and then we go on from there.
But once again, I want to make sure that we make it clear. Doesn't mean he's a bad player. James Harden, right? Everyone knows I love my guy James Harden. This guy, Game 6, 2017 or 16, I remember which playoff season it was. Game 6 against the Spurs at home. Had one of the worst games by a superstar in a home court advantage I've ever seen in my life, an elimination game. We got blown out by 30. You know what James did after that? He was embarrassed, and he went to the strip club. It doesn't mean that he doesn't take it seriously.
Right.
Just means the man was embarrassed. He was sad, and he decided to do something to get it off his mind. So Adam Lavick will bounce back. Kevin Smets, I think let's put a pause on the conversation about Kevin Smets because I want to come back to him at the tail end here and talk about his trajectory a little bit more. But obviously, he's back on the right track, dominating performance. Now, move to the main event. Mike Kalinowski, Rachel Cushing. Now, we talked about this at length.
We did.
At length.
We have.
Like 2 or 3 weeks in a row to the point where people are like, all right, we get it. You know what I mean? And
we get it. Rachel's the greatest. I did.
Yeah,
I did.
You had a lot right.
I did.
I got to say, you really boxed yourself into a corner. Hey, I did the same thing
Gladly.
with Conor McGregor versus Khabib. I said, Conor's my guy. He's going to go in there and get beat, even though in the back of my mind, I knew that, he could lose. I was running for my guy. Tell me what your emotions were like going through that while watching it live.
It's so funny because I'm sitting at home and I'm watching this and like I'm nervous. I was legit nervous because I'm a big fan of Rachel and everything she's done in the league, so I want to see her succeed. And B, right. for the sake of this show, I had a lot riding on her winning because, man, it would make my arguments a lot easier and a lot shorter with everybody. But look, it really was a pick 'em. It was. I mean, I couldn't.
It was a 50-50 fight.
It really is. And I need to say right off the top, thinking back on it now that we've had a couple weeks, and I think probably it's safe to say that I think the majority of people would agree that this is the best rivalry the Schmoedown has ever seen. And I don't know that I don't foresee another rivalry happening like this down the road. Time will tell, obviously. But for right now, this Kalinowski and Rachel Cushing is the premier rivals in the Schmoedown because not only is it in Innergeekdom, but now it has overflowed once in singles in the normal contender match in which she beat him, and now it's overflowing even more into teams where corruption and sharwell. So not only was it contained at first in Innergeekdom, but it's spread out from there to the other divisions, which I think just elevates the rivalry that they have now. And I don't know that we're going to ever see two players who will have to go at it in each of the three main divisions. I just don't see anybody else out there currently who could do that. So when you have Kalinowski, you have Cushing on that stage, and then I was also taking into account, look, Rachel hasn't been quiet on Twitter leading up to the event about, not feeling good. She's got a lot of things going on. And meanwhile, you hear Mike, he's studying like crazy. He's motivated. He's determined. He's focused. And so you really had these two different tales of players entering this match with different mindsets, different situations. And that's no excuse for the performance in the match. I still always believed that once Rachel got in there, that because she knows her stuff so well, she's going to perform at a high level almost by default. And I think she is so used to the game now in a sense, and live settings are a different story for her. But I always felt like you know what you know, and she's so good at recalling in those situations, not in those settings, that I think she was going to do better than she always believed she would. And I think, this match, look, the crazy thing is Kalinowski and Rachel, they had the same exact accuracy rate in the match. The only difference is round 3 and 4 and the way those questions are flip-flopped and the point swings. So
right.
No one underperformed here. I think everyone performed to the ability. It was all based on really one question that I think that third round really flips everything. You can survive the speed round, which I think she did fairly well. I mean, she didn't net any points or lose any ground, but had things all stayed even in that betting round, Kalinowski still would have, I think, been trailing just a little bit. So it would have made things a lot more interesting in that final round.
So look, it sucked to see Rachel lose. Yes.
Yeah,
But
no, I get it.
Mike is if she was going to lose to anyone, it ought to be Mike. And full disrespect to Kevin Smets. I didn't want Rachel to lose to Kevin Smets, even though I love Kevin Smets. I love Kevin Smets a lot, and I know he's probably watching or listening. But I did not want Rachel to lose to Kevin Smets. If Rachel was going to lose to anyone, it should be to Mike, purely for the fact of that rivalry, because it gives it more story. The fact that Mike had never beaten Rachel up to that point, Mike needed to win here in order to really make it a rivalry in my eyes. So if that was going to be the case, then if she was going to lose to Mike, he certainly deserves it. And let's not take too much away from Kevin, because I think one day he will deserve it. He'll prove it to us all, and time will tell. So my and look, here's the thing. Also, when the match ended, I wasn't like super like, great Mike, awesome. I was just like, yeah, this is what happened, and it's just.
Live by the take, die by the take.
Yeah, like it is what it is. But man,
it was a phenomenal match. Now, I would love to see a 30 for 30 style breakdown of the rivalry of Kalinowski versus Cushing, because I think there is that much meat on the bone where you could tell a phenomenal story from Throwdown to this match. I mean, two of the best matches of all year. Those are two of the best matches all year. And they was the same two people, rather. Now, Frank Janisch. Mike Kalinowski at some points, though, you said they have the same accuracy rating. Mike Kalinowski at some points in that match should have lost, in my opinion. I mean, Middle Earth being his category?
Yeah.
Middle Earth. You got Middle Earth.
I mean, can I tell you, when he got Middle Earth, I was like, holy crap, this might actually go Rachel's way. And then he misses the first question, she steals. I'm like, oh, we're going. And then he only gets 1 point on that second one. I'm like, okay. And then he rattled them off after that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So after he did that, then I was like, okay, all right. We'll see what happens now.
Absolutely. And the thing about what he was able to do in the betting round to flip the scores, I think it went from 18 to 15 to 18 to 15.
Yeah,
I think completely flipped. He had the advantage in the speed round, and just having that point advantage going into the final round, I really thought it was a matter of time at that point. It was like when you watch a championship fight, just like I was at when the event was going on. I was watching Manny Pacquiao, Keith Thurman, and I knew in the last 2 rounds, I was like, okay, if Pat just holds on here, he's won the fight. I knew right then and there, Kalinowski, if he just holds on here, he's won the match, and he'll be the champion. And that's what happened. It's not to discredit Rachel Cushing. Rachel Cushing's one of the greatest players of all time. Mm-hmm. One of the greatest. As far as pure knowledge base goes, she might be the greatest of all time, just from a pure knowledge standpoint. Mike Kalinowski had to win that match. He was into a corner. He was boxed into a corner. And he knew if he did not win that match, people would bring up the throwdown. People would bring up the triple threat from last year. People would bring these matches up to him all the time, and he knew to cement his legacy as one of the elite players, not only in Innergeekdom, but in the Schmoedown, and to go down to history as one of the great players of the game, he had to win. And he did. He performed under pressure at the biggest stage. Here's the thing. Really, Rachel had nothing to lose. She had nothing to lose. Her losing that match doesn't change her legacy. I'm saying she lost the title, but her losing that match didn't really taint her legacy in most people's eyes. Now, for the people who are Rachel Cushing detractors, sure, it gave them a lot of fodder and ammunition. But people who know the game and respect the play of Rachel Cushing, her stock was not diminished at all in our eyes, not even a little bit. Mike Kalinowski, however, had everything to lose. He had everything to lose. If he did not win that match, we talk about Mike as a guy who could have been but never was. And because he went out there and he delivered under pressure, Mike Kalinowski is now in the conversation. He's in the conversation. He's the champion again, and we can talk about him as one of the great Innergeekdom players of all time. And now it's more of a debate than it was prior.
Oh, yeah.
I said, hey, if he wins this, then we can have a real conversation. I'm not saying we need to have that now, but let's see how this plays out, because for Mike to win and immediately thereafter have heat put back on him in the form of somebody else who Frank Janisch was talking real spicy about. This was just a potpourri of crapping on Frank Day because we went from Rachel Cushing losing to the person who at one time, even though it wasn't the right choice of words, and you admitted that, you called a fluke champion in Mara Kanopik, making her return to the movie Trivia Schmoedown to challenge Mike. What were your thoughts watching the live stream after that?
So, my initial thoughts were, well, I guess we're gonna see just how good Mara is, because you do not come back after it's been like 6-7 months. You don't come
8 months,
after 8 months, right? You don't come back after that long ready to play, because I fully expect you to know exactly what you're stepping into, particularly the Innergeekdom the league, the division, the level of competition that is at the top, being Kalinowski, Rachel Cushing, Kevin Smets. You should be careful with that new crop that came in with Chance Ellison, Chandra Dandapani, Brandon Hanna. Now we have some other players that came. A new guy, Warfather. He appeared this week. So you have to know exactly what you're stepping into, and you have to believe that your game is up to that level, if not better. I'm assuming she probably thinks her level is better because you don't come back after everything you've been through. And look, the exit wasn't great. We all know that. We all saw it. Didn't look great on camera, and it is what it is. You know, everyone read her statement, and you got to do what you got to do for yourself. 100% respect. But now knowing what you know, after being through it once, now knowing what you know, I would expect someone in her position, if they're going to step back out on that stage and challenge for a belt, essentially, without having played a match in over half a year, you better be ready to go. You know what Mike's all about. You've played him twice. You've seen him throughout all of this past half year, right? So I have to imagine you feel like you stepping on that stage that she feels like she can beat Mike Kalinowski right there and then, can beat him tomorrow, whenever, right? She has to be at that level. Otherwise, I don't know why you come back if you're not at the level of Rachel, Mike, and Smets and all that. So for her to walk back on the stage, was I surprised? Sure, I was. Because also at the same time, I was also thinking, usually at these live events, we get a little pop at the end. I'm like, I don't know what in the hell we're going to do.
Plan, yeah.
Right,
yeah,
you know?
That's what I was thinking.
And so, and look, I never thought we would see the day that Mara would come back. That's just how it looked. But then again, I'm only over here in Chicago. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors at Schmoedown HQ. And apparently something was in the works, obviously, because she appeared on stage. So something was worked out. And, I don't know who knew what, who knew it when. But she came on that stage, and it was kind of exciting to see, because it's like, all right, let's see what can happen here. And she goes and challenges Mike, and he's like, let me stop you right there. So it's
back to you on
that. So
the thing is, I haven't checked my schedule.
Right.
Let me ask you this though. This is what I floated on the show. I don't know if you got a chance to hear it, but I think that Mara should not get, as much as a fan of Mara Kanopik as I am, she should not get a championship match right back in the gate. She should not.
No way.
She should get a number one contenders match. I think that's fair. She never got a rematch.
Right. I don't know.
Even though I don't know if she technically earned it with the 3 defenses or whatever the rule was, or 2 defenses or 1 defense.
No, because she never defended it at all. So because she won it from Inman, then immediately lost it to Kalinowski in their rematch of sorts, right? So I always thought that she should play. Look, she should get a shorter road to a title shot for sure, and I think she should probably play someone from that new crop that comes up. If you win that match, whatever it is, a 1-on-1 or a fatal 5-way, what have you, then you play Smets, because we know the Smets-Lavic match was not an official number one contender match. Now we know why, probably. This is the case. So to me, Mara should probably have to face Smets before she even gets a shot at Mike. However, if Mike goes, come on down, I'm not going to stop him, obviously. That's what he wants to do. He wants to put his belt on the line like that. More power to him. But if we're kind of going along of a more quote unquote fair route to the title, I at least think a welcome back match. Then you go play Smets, and if you beat him, then you have the right to play Mike. He can't deny you that instead of the route that she took right here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if she even needs the shorter route, as you said. I think that just let's make it happen right now. Let's cut the crap. Mark Knopik, Kevin Smets, #1 contender match. I think it's only right. And then the winner of that plays Mike at the spectacular.
I wouldn't be mad if that's exactly where she started off. I wouldn't be upset with that. I just think because I want to know what kind of player Mara is.
She might want to get her feet wet. Yeah, she might want to get her feet wet. She might. She might say, "Hey, man, give me Chandru, give me whatever the Warfather, give me one of these guys. Give me Adam Lavick. You know, let me stretch some muscles here for a minute, and then let me go after Smets, and then I'll go after the top."
Because I think also you took a look like someone. You pointed out that look, we got a rookie phenom this year in Kevin Smets. Last year's rookie phenom was Mara.
Oh, that's right.
Right. So yeah, you obviously want to see them play. You do. Now, if Mara is that confident in her abilities, then she should look at whoever's there. Maybe she feels like they're beneath her because she feels like that's fine. But if you walk into that match with Kevin Smets, I'm not saying she's going to get wiped by Kevin Smets. I don't know what's going to happen in that match. And the reason I don't know what's going to happen in that match is because I haven't seen Mara play in over half a year. And I would like to see something before that Kevin Smets match, because not only would I know what she has been doing, well, we all know what she's been doing in her off time, but then it kind of builds up that match to Smets. And like, oh, shit. Like, Smets, I think, has found another equivalent here, or an equivalent has come back into the league that's on par with Smets. Now you're even more hyped for that match because we're really going off of, you know, what she did in last year's tournament, and it was a crazy run. But you look at Smets, the dude has missed only 10 questions the whole year or something crazy like that. He's answering 88%. Right. Mara's numbers never even cracked 75%. So it's I want to know what kind of player Mara is now. I fully expect her to be way better. I hope she is, because like I said, I don't know why she would come back then. So I'm hoping that there's some sort of warm-up match for Mara. But I guess if you're trying to go after that belt right away, I guess, it's risky to take a quote-unquote squash match with some young guns and then go face Smets, who could really ruin your plans right away. So I guess if you're going to try and hold out for Mike to say, okay, fine, and relent, I guess. But, you know.
Now I'm looking at our live chat because we're about to take this home. We're about to put a bow on this, all right? But I'm looking at the live chat. I want to read a couple things before we head out and record this week's rundown proper. One of them is from Brandon Hanna, who's one of the players. He said, "You say my name at last, classic Frank." And he said, "I already beat Chandru. His name has already been crossed off the list. What else is there to say?" What else is there to say? Brandon Hanna, I believe, is the man who doesn't think Back to the Future is a classic movie. Is that what I read about him? I read that somewhere about him.
I read that about him.
Yeah, I read that about him. So, your opinion doesn't matter. I don't even know why I gave you the time of day, Brandon Hanna. Then let's see who else we got here. Chris Clark is watching. That's a good thing to know. Sure, he's got our back. Brian Nussbaum says Mike will win both Innergeekdom and comeback player. Well, he says both Innergeekdom, comeback player, and player of the year. That's three things. Brian, just want to point that out to you. I'm not trying to be mean. I don't agree with that. Comeback player of the year. Why would he win comeback player of the year? He was a champion last year.
He did, yeah. You ended the year as Innergeekdom champion.
He's a champion.
Yeah,
he wouldn't be a comeback player of the year. Now he could be Innergeekdom player of the year. There's a possibility. Don't let Frank poison your mind. Let's hear Brandon Hanna. I heard on the streets, brother. The streets are talking, and the streets is watching. I heard that you see all these things. These are all Back to the Future related behind me. I heard that you said you don't like Back to the Future. It's not a classic movie. I don't think you should be able to have your Innergeekdom card checked. And I think that he could be player of the year. Mike Kalinowski, but I don't know. Maybe not likely. I mean, look at what Paulo Yama's doing this year. If he has a couple defenses, I think Mike's out of contention for that. Have Mara play Smets, then the winner of that play Cushing, and then the winner of that face Kalinowski. Again, not exactly how I'd have it going. I don't know if I said this on the show, Frank, and I guess this is where we can end. Rachel, I don't feel like she wants to make another deep run in Innergeekdom. I think she's a champion in another division already. She needs to focus on that division now and just hold down that belt instead of trying to spread herself too thin. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think had she won, obviously in San Diego, then she's probably not going to play until Spectacular and things pull down.
Right.
She's had her run. She's had her run at the belt, defending the belt. It didn't end the way she wanted to, or fans of Rachel didn't end that way, right? So now you have this other group you got to make way, because you just can't continue to be there. I guess you could, but it's just you kind of want to see some new faces, and you want to see some. And it's not to take away. It's not like if they don't go through Rachel, then it wasn't earned. It's not going to be. I don't think that will be the case. But you're right. Now she has to defend the team belt against Mike, against corruption. So I think if you're trying to hold on to that belt, which obviously you are, and you got to go up against Mike, so great. So now he's going to have to defend. He's got to worry about defending the Innergeekdom. He's also still worrying about playing a singles match against Ben Bateman to get a shot at the singles belt. And then he's also going to take you on. So it's like, why would I spread myself just as thin as Mike when Mike's going to be spread pretty thin, when he's got his brain going in every which way? Let me sit back and concentrate on, me and Clark, we're going to concentrate on defending the team belt and just go from there. Because it takes an immense amount of commitment these days, especially, to perform at a high level in the Schmoedown. And every time I hear players talk about, what it takes now, look, if they were paid by the Schmoedown as like at a professional level, or this was their living, right? I think we're talking about completely different levels of play and time commitments, and now everything's up in the air, and it would be crazy to see what someone like Rachel could do, or even let's say if Sam Levine had open schedule. Like, is he still in the league? Is he playing at a high level? So, I mean, there's a lot of things we could talk about, a lot of variables. But the point is, she shouldn't worry about Innergeekdom anymore for the rest of the year. She's already accomplished what she initially set out to do, was to win the Innergeekdom belt. She did it. And by the way, let me note, just as a fan of Rachel, let me note that in that match against Kalinowski when she won the belt, she has now the highest score ever in an Innergeekdom match. Also the highest accurate match of all time. So that's a nice feather in her cap. Just gonna say that. And look, Shire Wolves is, I think that's a tough one, because do you want to lose a Mike twice like that for titles? If I'm Rachel, that's a definite no. I mean, I don't want to lose to him once motivation. At all. Right. So I think she will be more motivated here. And now that, she can, because look, Innergeekdom is a lot more intensive training. I think generally would agree. Right. Because what to expect. Teams is more general, and it's like, it's not as easier to pinpoint some of your study habits. Although, like, if you are corruption, if you are Mike Kalinowski and Chance Ellison, you're really honed in on Bond, you're really honed in on Pixar, I suppose you could go that strategic route and study that way. But I think Rachel just focusing on teams is the better way to go. And I don't know if we have any word one way or the other. I could be mistaken on this. Would Rachel entertain a singles tournament run? I don't know. But we're gonna have to find out. But we're gonna have to find out later, because right now Frank Janisch and I gonna cut this little streamer-ooski off. Brandon Hanna's gonna go watch the Back to the Future trilogy and change his mind, and we're gonna record the proper movie trivia Schmoedown rundown episode here right now. So Frank Janisch, I think we just end it here. We don't need a formal goodbye, do we? No, just end it. Right. I mean, Chris, stop the stream. Go. Just stop.